Percent.
I don't know, man. I'm curious as to see how Conor's going to look because, like you said, 5 years off is a long time. The game changes. Now, Max is an older fighter, but still, he's been current with the current game, the speed of the game, like the new stuff that everybody's doing. I don't know how Conor adjusts.
It's also the lifestyle. I think Conor lives a certain lifestyle that we've all seen, and then you can kind of tell that it's not for show. It's really his lifestyle. And Max lives a complete different lifestyle, where I've never seen Max at a club drunk. You never see him on the headlines for anything bad. That guy lives a different life where he's gym, family, gym, family, gym, family. I think that's going to pay the biggest dividends because you could be away from the sport 5 years, come back like nothing happened if you live that life.
Conor McGregor's UFC comeback just got brutally dismissed by one of the most dangerous men in MMA history. Jorge Masvidal believes Max Holloway is going to completely destroy Conor McGregor at UFC 329. And honestly, he didn't even hesitate saying it. In fact, Masvidal delivered one of the coldest predictions fans have heard about McGregor's return so far. "I think Max smokes him like a brisket." Just like that, the MMA world exploded again, because after years of injuries, controversies, broken comeback promises, and endless questions about whether Conor McGregor would ever truly fight again, the biggest superstar in UFC history is finally coming back. And the opponent? Max Holloway, a man many believe is the worst possible matchup for comeback Conor McGregor. This isn't just another UFC fight. This is history returning, more than 11 years after their first meeting inside the Octagon. McGregor and Holloway are finally set to collide again. Back in 2013, things looked completely different. Conor McGregor was still a rising star from Ireland with insane confidence and dangerous knockout power. Max Holloway? Just a young Hawaiian prospect still trying to prove himself in the UFC. McGregor won that fight by decision. But what makes it legendary today is the fact that Conor reportedly tore his ACL during the fight and still managed to defeat Holloway. At the time, nobody fully realized how massive both fighters would eventually become. But now, they're two of the biggest names in modern MMA history. Conor McGregor became the UFC's first simultaneous two-division champion, a global superstar, a pay-per-view king, a fighter who transcended the sport itself. Meanwhile, Max Holloway built something completely different. Respect, pure respect. Over the years, Holloway transformed into one of the greatest featherweights the UFC has ever seen. A cardio machine, a pressure monster, a fighter known for breaking opponents mentally over time. And unlike McGregor, Holloway never truly disappeared. He stayed active, stayed disciplined, stayed dangerous. That's exactly why Jorge Masvidal thinks this fight could become a nightmare for Conor McGregor. Because according to Masvidal, the current version of Holloway is simply too sharp for a fighter returning after nearly 5 years away from competition. And honestly, that fear makes sense. The last time Conor McGregor fought inside the Octagon was back in 2021 against Dustin Poirier. And it ended horribly. One of the most brutal injuries of his career. A devastating leg break that instantly became one of the darkest moments in UFC history. Since then, fans have heard non-stop comeback rumors. Every few months there was another headline. Conor is returning. McGregor is back. Big announcement coming soon. But every single time, something happened. An injury. A delay. Another controversy. Another distraction. That's why this UFC 329 announcement feels different. Because now, it's official. And suddenly the entire MMA world is debating one terrifying question. Can Conor McGregor still compete with elite fighters in today's UFC? Or has the sport evolved beyond him? That's where Jorge Masvidal's comments became so interesting. Because despite criticizing McGregor heavily, Masvidal still admitted Conor carries one terrifying weapon: power. The thing is, Conor has the power, Masvidal explained. And that's true. No matter how long McGregor stays away from fighting, that left hand remains dangerous. One clean shot can still shut the lights off instantly. That's why people can never fully count him out. Because all it takes is one mistake, one lazy exchange, one moment. And suddenly Conor McGregor changes everything again. But according to Masvidal, everything outside the power becomes the real problem. Timing, cardio, rhythm, sharpness, movement, reaction speed. Those things disappear when fighters stay inactive too long, especially in modern MMA. Because today's UFC evolves fast, very fast. Every year fighters become more technical, more complete, more dangerous. Meanwhile, Max Holloway stayed right in the middle of that evolution. That's what makes this matchup so dangerous for McGregor. Holloway never stopped fighting elite competition. Even after becoming champion. Even after brutal wars. Even after title losses. He kept showing up. And that consistency matters massively. Because Holloway's fighting style is built to destroy inactive fighters. The longer fights go, the stronger Max becomes. He increases pressure, increases volume, increases pace, round after round after round. It feels endless for opponents. That's why Holloway has become one of the most
Huge right in round 5 for Holloway.
That's how he becomes vulnerable. At his best, Conor McGregor is lethal early. Sharp counters, precision timing, explosive knockouts. But when fights drag deeper, things change. The movement slows down. The output drops. The pressure becomes harder to handle. Now imagine dealing with Max Holloway's pace after 5 years away from real competition. That's why Masvidal believes Holloway should be a massive betting favorite. And apparently, he's not alone. During the discussion, everyone on the panel agreed Holloway deserves to be favored over McGregor. One person predicted the odds could reach 3-1. Another went even further. Maybe 6-1. That's insane when you think about who they're talking about. Conor McGregor, one of the biggest combat sports stars the world has ever seen. Now entering a fight where many people believe he's completely outmatched. It shows just how much momentum has shifted over the years. But despite all the criticism, McGregor fans still believe. And honestly, that's what makes Conor McGregor different from every other fighter. His supporters never stop believing, even when logic says otherwise, even when the odds look terrible. Because Conor built his career on proving people wrong. Nobody believed he'd become champion. Nobody believed he'd knock out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. Nobody believed he'd become double champion. But somehow, he kept making impossible moments happen. That's why UFC 329 feels so fascinating. Because nobody truly knows what version of Conor McGregor still exists. Maybe the old Conor is gone forever. Or maybe the world is about to witness one final explosion. But Masvidal believes there's another factor fans aren't discussing enough. Lifestyle. And this is where things got personal. Masvidal openly questioned whether McGregor's celebrity lifestyle outside the Octagon has damaged his ability to return at the highest level. Because according to him, Max Holloway lives completely differently. Gym, family, training, repeat, no chaos, no controversy, no constant drama. Meanwhile, McGregor's lifestyle has become legendary for entirely different reasons. Luxury, parties, business empire, constant headlines. And Masvidal believes that difference matters massively after such a long layoff. Because taking years away from fighting only works if you continue living like a fighter behind the scenes. That's the key point. Masvidal admitted he's genuinely curious to see how McGregor physically looks after all this time away. Because no matter how talented someone is, the game keeps moving forward. Fighters adapt. Strategies evolve. Pace increases. And Holloway stayed active during all of it. McGregor didn't. That creates enormous uncertainty, especially against someone as relentless as Max Holloway. Still, there's something terrifying about doubting Conor McGregor too much. Because the moment people completely write him off, that's usually when he becomes most dangerous. And even Masvidal admitted the power is still real. That left hand still changes fights. That's why this comeback feels impossible to predict emotionally. Logic says Holloway should win. Activity says Holloway should win. Momentum says Holloway should win. But Conor McGregor has built an entire career around destroying logic. That's why millions of fans will still believe he can shock the world one more time. And honestly, that uncertainty is exactly what makes UFC 329 so massive. For Max Holloway, this is revenge. A chance to defeat the man who beat him before either fighter became legends. But for Conor McGregor, this fight feels much bigger than revenge. It feels like survival. A chance to prove that after all the injuries, all the consequences, all the years away, the Notorious still exists. Or maybe Jorge Masvidal is right. Maybe Max Holloway is simply too active, too sharp, too disciplined, too relentless for comeback Conor McGregor to survive. And honestly, that possibility is exactly what
Can we finish it right here, right now?
So what do you think? Is Jorge Masvidal right about Max Holloway destroying McGregor? Or does Conor still have enough to stop the drop your thoughts in the comments? And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because in the UFC, legends are always one fight away from changing everything again.